Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast, and on today's video, I will rank the 10 quarterbacks in the Big 12 from 10 to 1 headed in to the 2022 season. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on not only Texas Tech athletics all year long, but Big 12 as well. We'll have betting content, the latest leaderboards, everything you can think of right here on the channel, so be sure to turn that red button gray. But let's jump right into the crux of this video today. Again, starting at number 10, going to number 1, and I'm sure there will be a quarterback or two that you strongly disagree with where I have them placed. Let me know in the comments. But starting out at number 10, it's got to be Jalon Daniels up at Kansas. I mean, when you think about it, the athleticism is there, right? He is a freak athlete, but the tools can only go so far in that kind of system. And I like him as a quarterback, but this seemed like chalk, and no pun intended there with the rock chalk. Sorry, Jayhawks fans. But this felt like the chalk pick on the board when it came to who needed to be number 10. I think he has the potential to be better than this, but right now you have to put him at number 10 headed in to the 2022 season. Now at number 9, this is where things get really interesting to me because I have Hunter Dekkers at Iowa State at the number 9 spot. And the number 9 spot to me could have gone probably 3 different ways, I think. But Hunter Dekkers is the guy I'm going to pick here just because we haven't really seen a lot of him yet. But I do think that he's better than Daniels and in a better situation than Daniels. So I put him there at 9, the highest ranked quarterback recruit in Iowa State history. 4-star commit, but the thing is for me, I want to see how the expectations are because when you're replacing arguably the best player in your program's history, easily the best quarterback in your program's history in Brock Purdy, how do you respond to that? And not to mention you're losing Breece Hall, multiple tight ends, a wide receiver or two of the Cyclones, and a couple offensive linemen. How do you respond to that if you're Hunter Dekkers? I think he's a phenomenal talent, but you got to prove it to me before I move you any higher on the list. So I have the Cyclones QB1 at number 9. Let me know in the comments. I know I've had some Iowa State fans comment on some other videos. Let me know if you agree. I could be talked to maybe number 8, but 9 felt like the right spot for Dekkers this early on in his career. At number 8, it's Adrian Martinez in the Kansas State quarterback transferring from Nebraska. We saw all this potential as the Cornhuskers QB1 for a long time. It seems like he has been in college football since I was born. I do not understand how this man has eligibility left, but he does, and he will be in the backfield with Deuce Vaughn this year. And the reason I have him at number 8 is because first and foremost, the turnovers. He turns the ball over way too much. He's far too inaccurate. But if we're talking about sheer athleticism, he's probably the most athletic quarterback in the conference this year. But athleticism can only get you so far. We need to see him improve as a passer, and he just hasn't done so yet. Maybe this is the year that he does improve as a passer at K-State. But overall, I just don't see a lot of great things from his mechanics in terms of moving and projecting. He's just far too inconsistent, and that's why I have him at number 8. But I will say this about the K-State Wildcats. They're my dark horse to win the Big 12 because if they do get a season where Adrian Martinez puts it all together, look out because he could skyrocket up these rankings. Now at number 7, I have whoever starts at quarterback for Texas Tech. I'm assuming it's going to be Tyler Shough, and that's what we're going to talk about at the number 7 spot here. I did mention this could be Donovan Smith or Baron Morton, but when you look at why I have this quarterback or any of the 3 really at this spot, the large part is because of Zach Kittley. When you have an offensive coordinator as highly regarded as he is and proven in the sense that he has done it at multiple levels, whether that's at Houston Baptist, Western Kentucky, albeit with the same quarterback, but he took Bailey Zappi to a guy that I guarantee you NFL scouts had no idea who he was to ended up getting drafted by the New England Patriots and is going to be on their roster, right? So you think about what Texas Tech has in their QB room. Tyler Shough, 4-star recruit, already won a Power 5 conference as a starting quarterback at Oregon. Donovan Smith won the Liberty Bowl, and then Baron Morton is the highest rated quarterback commit in Texas Tech program history. The talent is there. I'm thinking it's going to be Tyler Shough as the QB1 in week 1 against Murray State for Joey McGuire and Zach Kittley. You look at what Tyler Shough was on pace for last year, which was 3,500 yards, 32 total touchdowns, 12 interceptions with a completion percentage of nearly 70%. You can get away with that as Zach Kittley as your OC because those numbers should improve, but the run game will be better as well for Texas Tech. I think either way this quarterback battle goes, I feel great about it in the sense that they're battle tested, but most importantly, your offensive coordinator is Zach Kittley, and he has proven to put your quarterback in the best position possible. Now at number 6, this might be a little hot takey, and I'm a lot higher on him than a lot of other people, but Blake Shapen. Gary Bohannon transferring, I thought was just a formality at this point when it came to Baylor, and Bohannon ended up winning that QB1 job at South Florida where he transferred to. I think Blake Shapen has the opportunity to take Baylor to that next level, which is a scary proposition considering what Dave Aranda, Matt Rule before him, and other countless head coaches now throughout college football have done, including Joey McGuire, who was on that staff for both of those head coaches, who is now the head coach at Texas Tech. Blake Shapen is an absolute stud. He does everything right. He's accurate, he's poised in the pocket, and he's athletic. I think the thing that really stands out for me is just Shapen has that it factor, man. He has that it factor, and not a lot of quarterbacks have it. You haven't really got to see a lot of them yet. 86 career passing attempts as the Baylor quarterback. But I think that was enough for me to be swayed in the direction of, okay, he's the guy moving forward. And obviously, same can be said for Dave Aranda and crew, as they named him the starting quarterback very early on in spring, and that got Gary Bohannon into the transfer portal where he ended up being a Bull down at South Florida. So I really like what Shapen brings to the table for Baylor. I think he brings a different element that Baylor hasn't had at the quarterback position in a while. And I think that when we look back at this, you got to put him here at number 6 just because of the inexperience factor and not having that quote-unquote elite OC. But you could see Shapen, I think he could be as high as number 2 on this list. I think he is that good of a quarterback. But I know some people aren't as high on him, and people were wondering, why did Gary Bohannon get out of there? I think Shapen is the reason. I just think he is flat out better, and I think he gives Baylor a better chance to win long term. Now, this next one could be a little interesting to some, but I have Max Duggan at number 5. He's just proven, reliable, and athletic. Those are the 3 words I think of when I see Max at the quarterback position for TCU. And you know, he's just solid, man. Like, he does everything well. His decision-making has vastly improved since he first started to be the quarterback there in Fort Worth for the Horned Frogs. And you think about it, 60 total TDs, 20 interceptions. That's a solid ratio for the type of quarterback he is, right? He's not afraid to run. He's not afraid to go and muck it up. But he's also just improved as a passer. And that's something you got to, give really credit to the guy for in terms of what he's done in his career in Fort Worth and for TCU. I expect him to be at 5 at the lowest, or at the highest, but I think when you think about it and the guys behind him, you could easily see Max kind of slip down the rankings. No fault to his own, just because other guys step up and maybe live up to their heightened potential, like a Tyler Shuck or Blake Shapen. And you could see Max fall as far as maybe even number 8 if Adrian Martinez goes to where we think he can, and all that potential that people have talked about while he was at Nebraska. Now at number 4, it's all about potential and all about the OC calling plays. Technically the head coach is Quinn Ewers. He's the highest ranked quarterback recruit ever. I think that's got to be the, hammer to the nail type point I have here. The highest ranked quarterback recruit ever. The pedigree is there. And then you have Sark, arguably the best developer of QB talent in college football outside of maybe Ryan Day. You just think about what's going on here down in Austin. And yeah, the offensive line is getting a little scary now. They've lost a couple guys. They lost a wide receiver for the year as well. But I think Sark has proven over and over and over again in his college career that he can elevate quarterbacks to a different level. And I think he does that for Quinn Ewers in year 1. Hudson Carr may have something to say about it in this QB battle, but let's be real. It's going to be Quinn Ewers taking the first snap for Texas in week number 1. I'm very interested to see how he adapts because, let's face it, there's a lot of pressure on this guy to change the narrative around Texas QBs right now. And I think Quinn Ewers can do it. I just think that right now he's 4th, but he has the potential to be number 1 just because of his pedigree and the arm talent and everything that goes with it in his really profile as a quarterback. Now at number 3 to number 1, I really think you could probably switch number 2 and number 3. Either way you want to go. This is a 2A, 2B type situation, but I did decide to put Oklahoma quarterback Dillon Gabriel at number 3. And you think about it, he's thrown for 8,000 yards, 70 touchdowns in his career. And the only reason I don't have Gabriel at number 2, and some people are going to get upset about this, and that's okay. I don't know how Oklahoma is going to look offensively without Lincoln Riley. Yes, you get the offensive coordinator from Mississippi. I get it. He's been under Lane Kiffin, and they've had really good offenses, but I think you're crazy if you don't think there's going to be a significant drop-off in production offensively for Oklahoma going from Lincoln Riley to this new OC. I mean, you got Brett Venables. I think their defense will be better. I think Oklahoma's still going to be a very good team, but I think they're going to be more defensive-oriented than offensive-oriented. And Dillon Gabriel's a very good quarterback, but I just wonder what that offense is going to look like. I could look very stupid when this is all said and done, and Dillon Gabriel could be the best quarterback in the Big 12. But right now, I just don't know. I'm skeptical in terms of what will this offense look like. It's a believe it when you see it type situation for me in the Oklahoma Sooner offense. Now, you're going to think that I'm kind of a hypocrite here, but JT Daniels, man, I have at number 2. And the reason why I have JT Daniels at number 2, and the reason you might think I'm a hypocrite is, well, they have a new OC up in Morgantown. There's far more talent at Oklahoma. Well, when it comes to the OC in West Virginia, he's far more proven and has actually called plays before at the Power 5 level, not just worked under a guy in Lane Kiffin, where, yeah, he called plays sometimes, but Graham Harrell called plays all the time for USC. And that's why I'm so enamored with JT Daniels this season. And let's get the main point out of the way. If he can't stay healthy, this is just going to look beyond stupid. Let's just be real about it. He hasn't played more than 5 games since 2018. He let a walk-on take his place last year, and it worked out for Georgia, and they won a national championship. But what does JT Daniels do up in Morgantown? I think he has the potential to elevate West Virginia, but I also think that you have to put some, qualifiers in there where if he only plays 5 games, Neil Brown's out. This is a home run type situation for Neil Brown in terms of getting Graham Harrell and getting JT Daniels in there. You know what it almost feels like to me? It feels like the situation at Texas Tech last year where Matt Wells felt like he was out of the door. Neil Brown feels like he's almost out the door. They're just trying to find a reason to fire him. You bring in a guy that has been a well-accredited OC. Obviously, Texas Tech brought in Sonny Cumbie. West Virginia brings in Graham Harrell. And then you bring in a highly regarded transfer quarterback. Texas Tech brought in Tyler Shuck. Now West Virginia brings in JT Daniels. It feels like that situation, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Neil Brown is fired just like Matt Wells was, but I also wouldn't be surprised if JT Daniels and Graham Harrell turn the fortunes around for Neil Brown for at least him to get one more season. I have JT Daniels this high because of the pedigree, and you think about the pedigree, he was the 3rd quarterback, number 3 overall quarterback in the class of 2018. The other 2 quarterbacks ahead of him were the number 1 and number 2 overall players in that class, and I think you may have heard of them, and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. So you think about what JT Daniels has his pedigree. When he's on the field, he's been great, but he just can't stay on the field. I think he stays on the field this year and is actually good for West Virginia. But what does the West Virginia defense look like? I have no idea. I think the offense could be a lot of fun to watch, but that West Virginia defense scares me if you're trying to get to a bowl game up in Morgantown. And that leaves one quarterback, and this is just because he's the most proven quarterback in this conference for the longest period of time, and it's Spencer Sanders. Who would have thought a couple years ago you have Spencer Sanders as the number 1 quarterback headed into 2022? I'll be honest with you, I thought Spencer Sanders was terrible, and I was wrong. He is absolutely phenomenal. He knows his game. Mike Gundy has helped elevate him. He has turned that Oklahoma State offense into a juggernaut in terms of they can beat you in a variety of ways, whether that's on the ground or through the air, and a lot of that has to deal with Spencer Sanders. You think about what he did last year against Notre Dame, 371 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 125 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown in the bowl game to come back from a 28-7 deficit in the Fiesta Bowl. He's a stud. It's that simple. Oklahoma State is a very good football team, and Spencer Sanders is their leader. Now, let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. I'm sure some people will not like how high I have JT Daniels, or maybe how low I have some guys, maybe Quinn Ewers. But hey, this is how I feel going into the 2022 Big 12 season. If you haven't already, again, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there to stay in the know on everything Big 12 all season long and Texas Tech athletics right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.